Now to a couple of fresh ones, really are fresh shows that have just recently hit the airwaves. The one that I really like is Imposters. This is an interesting show. It's only been a few episodes broadcast so far, so it's early days, but it's an interesting setup. It's about a professional con woman who basically plays different spouses. She's or girlfriends or spouses, whatever. She latches on to people, and of course milks them of funds. So she's a con lady, very attractive con lady with partners in crime, and that's nothing new there. But what's the interesting element of this particular show is that what we have is we've got two of her jilted boyfriends, husbands, who band together, who are opposites, of course. You want to have characters that are going to clash, and they've got that. So they band together, trying to hunt down this woman. And so that's an interesting plot line, plus the woman herself has got her own issues with her creating fake relationships to clean out the bank accounts of her victims, but she also has she wants her own love life as well. So she has a conflict between what she really wants and her career, which is basically she needs to focus in on the victim rather than her own carnal desires. So that's an interesting point as well. But on top of all that, you've got with Imposters, you've also got not only the two ex-boyfriend husbands who are actually out to track down this woman. On top of that, there's an ex-girlfriend. So she did she was in a lesbian relationship with one of the other characters hunting her down. So you've got three of them. Of course, they're all characters are a bit different to one another, and one of the girl hates one of the other guys, and I think actually might hook up with the other one though. It looks like there could be romance between two of the ones chasing this woman, and the other jilted lover husband. So it's got a lot of potential. It's entertaining. The thing about it is it's a mix of drama and comedy, a nice mix, and it's well done. It's well acted, and it's interesting because you've got so many different relationships taking place. You've got the conflicts taking place with the con woman and her people, and then you also got the group that is actually chasing her down, and they've got their own conflicts. They're short on money. They've got to try to somehow graft their way along. In a way, they're conning people to get there because they don't have any money to do this. So ironically, they're having to run cons themselves to find the con woman. So it's a rather interesting mix, and yeah, it's a good show. And the other news show that I would thoroughly recommend so far, and this one I think is about 6 episodes in, so we've gone a fair way, and in a way, it stood the test of time already. I mean, a lot of shows can't even hold up the quality for that long. And that is The Mick, which is, again, has some cliched elements to it. It's a woman who basically ends up looking after these rich kids who have been abandoned by their parents, I think, or the fathers actually. Yeah, I think they're overseas and they're on the run or whatever, but they're in an affluent suburb of LA. I presume it's LA anyway. It looks like LA, and you basically got this woman from the other side of the tracks, this attractive woman who basically becomes their carer, their housekeeper, carer, but basically surrogate mother and father in effect. And the actress who plays the lead role in The Mick, she's excellent. The kids are good. They're getting a lot, and it's got a nice little black comedy element to it. It's got quite surprisingly black comedy, especially in regards to the youngest son. There's two teenagers to the parents that have flown the coop, and then there's a smaller child, a boy, and he's a cross-dresser, which is interesting. So they've got a few quirks in this show, and he also is fairly adept at killing off rabbits and not realising that the animals are actually dying. So that's also quite a quirky black sort of element. Yeah, I've got to say, it surprised me, and I like being surprised. It's good. It's not a pap sitcom. It's a bit out there, and yeah, I think it's worth a look. There's actually another sitcom which is nowhere near as innovative. It's very standard comedy, and it's called Superior Donut. But what I find fascinating about it is it's got a couple of real old troopers, comedy troopers, and one of them is Judd Hirsch, who you may remember from the dark days a long time ago. I think back in the early 80s, the sitcom Taxi. Which was one of those trailblazing sitcoms in the US. The thing about it is that Judd Hirsch, I mean, we're talking, that's 35 years ago, or maybe even 40 years ago. Judd doesn't look that much older. He looks older, sure, but he doesn't look as old as he should. And the same can be said for a supporting character in this particular show. A woman who plays the cop is Kate Segal, and from Married with Children fame back in the 80s again. Yeah, it was back in the 80s. That's right. I remember it actually began in the US in 87 because I was actually there when it premiered. And yeah, so she's playing Peggy Bundy there, and now she's playing a cop. And again, she doesn't look that much older. Really, it's just amazing. It's like Dorian Gray with those two, with Judd Hirsch and her. And the show's okay, but it's not as black or innovative as the Mick, and that would be my pick, the Mick, for the new sitcom coming up. That's a really nice tight sitcom. I really enjoy it. Well, speaking of good sitcoms too, there's actually, of course, Veep is coming up, and I'll just put the premiere dates on. It's being premiered in April. I'm not sure whether apparently she's going back to being a Veep. It's only short-lived. She's just a stand-in president, and I'm just wondering whether Hugh Laurie is still in it. I was positive with Veep, which I love. I think it's a fantastic show. And I think it's Julia Louis-Dreyfus's best program that I've seen since Seinfeld. I really like it, actually. I think she's perfect in that role. But I was convinced that the Hugh Laurie character was going to be made president, and that they were going to make her Veep again. But it didn't actually happen in the previous series. Now, I'm very surprised at that. I thought that's the plot they were going to go down, but they didn't. I hope Hugh Laurie's still involved in the show, though, because they work well off one another. But maybe not. He's got his own show now, and which I wasn't overly impressed with, to be quite frank. I think he plays a psychologist or something, and it didn't float my boat anyway. But Veep, love it. Yeah. So that's all the programming up to that point. It's pretty bright. It's a pretty good situation to be in. It's a well for riches, I think. Now on the downside though, there are two shows that are pretty long in the tooth, and I think they look it. And totally different genres here. One everyone will know, and that's The Big Bang Theory. And in my opinion, and it's not just my opinion, there's a few people that are backing me up on the Internet Movie Database as well. It's getting pretty tired, and it's getting close to pulling the plug. I know that I've been watching a show too long when I actually am reluctant to just start watching the episode. I've got it on a disc, and I'm thinking, nah, I'd rather watch something else. It's just not a high priority anymore, and I find it even though it still has dashes of brilliance, they're not as consistent as they used to be. In my opinion, it's just my opinion, but I think there is a consensus building with this one, and just the characters just, they're not as fresh and biting as they were, and that's to be expected. The show's been going forever. Look, it's had an extremely good run, and if it's just natural that it's going to eventually hit this sort of a roadblock. I don't see that it should go on any longer, but that the producers might feel we want to just keep milking it until it just becomes so unwatchable, even the diehards will start turning off. But I think that'd be sad if that was the case. I think it's always better to just finish a show when it doesn't get too run out. And having said that, I think that's exactly the position that the Walking Dead's in as well. By the way, I was a huge fan of The Big Bang Theory when it first came out. So don't get me wrong, I loved the show to bits in the first few seasons. And the same can be said for The Walking Dead. Loved The Walking Dead when that first came out. But I'm afraid, again, just like with The Big Bang Theory, it is not standing the test of time. I think it's just not in that reinvention mold. It's not reinventing itself. As a matter of fact, it's turning into a post-apocalyptic type show. Like any of these, there's so many of them out there. It should be about humans fighting the zombies. I would actually like to see maybe some zombie evolution might be good. I know they didn't do that in the graphic novels it's based on. Well, I don't think they did anyway. But I think just for the sake of making the storyline more interesting, that would be the way to go. But instead, it appears as if they've just gone in for a bit of sadism and gore, and I don't think that's particularly smart. I saw the first episode of the latest series, and I couldn't watch the show. It was gratuitous violence. That's all. I can handle a fair bit of violence. I didn't have any issues, say, with Hacksaw Ridge, with the scenes on Hacksaw Ridge where people were being mowed down. It's a war scene. It's to be expected. They're trying to recreate reality. Some things you probably don't want to see from reality, but I accepted the context there. But this scene, to me, the first episode of the latest series of The Walking Dead, it just seemed to be a pointless exercise in sadism and just sensationalism and it was man's inhumanity to man. It had nothing to do with the zombies. And really, the core storyline with The Walking Dead is The Walking Dead. It's not. It shouldn't be bands of men fighting other bands. Okay, that should be a side issue, and it has been in the context of The Walking Dead up until now. But now it seems to be it's mainly bad humans against other bad humans. And in other words, it's just that bores me. It's just not. And also they got rid of some good characters too. I was devastated when Herschel went. I thought he was a fantastic character, and I think the actor wasn't exactly happy either. And he was a very popular character in the show. Now Glenn's gone as well. Gee. But look, it's not so much that makes it worse. But it's not just that; it's the stories are just not up to scratch. So, I personally would not shed a tear if the axe fell on both The Big Bang Theory and The Walking Dead. I think they've had a good run. I think the producers are out of ideas, and I think it's time to look for something new. I only hope that is the case, but because the resources could be used elsewhere for a new project, and I think that would be more productive at this stage. Again, just my opinion. I know that there's hardcore fans of The Walking Dead and The Big Bang Theory who just think I'm talking crap, but there are a number of people like me that probably feel the same way. So, and as that number grows, the those TV shows will be tested, their longevity, that is. Anyway, that's my, sorry to be, for a downer ending there, because overall it's been a fantastic season of TV, absolutely brilliant. You know, we are in a golden age of television. We've got some fantastic comedy and drama, and I just hope the quality continues. I'm very happy